live in the group. Thanks, Brett, to being here, folks. This is going to be a good one. It's going to be a really good one. We love to bring people into the group that are practitioners, are actually making it happen. So we don't talk in theory. We hope things work. We're going to be talking to the real deal here. This is Brett Boone, runs a massive team out of Oklahoma. But you know what? I'll let him introduce himself. Brett, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do. Go for it.
Yeah, so I've been in real estate since 2008, so I'm just over 14 years in. And I started off, I was a server before I got into real estate. And so I was waiting tables and got into real estate because I needed to do something with my life, and kind of took off from there. And throughout the years, I just slowly have implemented team member by team member, from an administrative assistant to buyer's agents to a marketing department, and a bunch of buyer's agents and listing agents. And now we're incorporating more ISAs onto our team to help create that leverage. And so last year we closed just over 300 transactions, and it was just shy of $100 million of real estate that we sold. We have a lower price point because it's Oklahoma, so we're really affordable. So we have to do a lot of volume in order to get those kind of numbers. So we don't have California prices; we've got Oklahoma prices. So got to do a lot of volume to be able to make some money.
I gotcha. And what does your team look like right now? Like, what does it look like? You're like, summarize the org chart.
Yeah. So we have we have 5 administrative assistants, and we call them TCs, transaction coordinators. Cool. And then we have 7 agents. And then you got myself, and then we have a director of operations, Daniel. We have 2 showing partners. They help show properties for our agents. We have our chief financial officer, also my wife, who runs all the money. So that's what she does. And then we have a couple of runners that they help run lock boxes, signs, contracts, those types of things around town to help create leverage. That's pretty much it. Yeah, it's a squad of, it's just leverage. It's a bunch of leverage pieces.
100%. And what's your role in the team? Because this is kind of a leading question, because I've observed that you're kind of unique in the as team leaders, as people that run large organizations go. But so I kind of know the answer to this one, but I want the people to find out. What is your role on the team? How do you identify it? What does your daily schedule look like roughly?
Yeah, so my role is I'm still in production, and so myself personally, I typically close around 100 transactions per year is what I typically do, and that's where I'm able to kind of keep my even spot where I'm not overworked, I'm not underworked. I've got a pretty big database, and so I'm able to pretty have some consistent business. But you said what my average day looks like. Well, it starts at 4:30 in the morning is whenever I wake up, which is a big part. So your morning routine is very important. We have one of the things we talked about was being efficient with our time. And so we created an office gym that we have a full gym at our office that we have for ourselves. And we created that not just because it was cool, but it gave me, I was able to buy back about an hour and a half of my morning back from driving to and from the gym, and then the showering that has to happen and all that good stuff. So we're actually do all of that here. So we have our own showers and in the morning. So it starts with getting your mind right, getting your body right, and it allows me to be a lot more effective and efficient. So by the time I get done with that, I'm at my desk by 6:30 every morning, and from 6:30 to 8:30, I'm looking over the calls and transactions from the day before. I'm kind of monitoring the new leads that came in. I'm looking at our profit and loss statements. I'm checking. Then I do a lot of kind of house cleaning. I do get through all my emails for the day, and basically I get myself set up so I'm getting all my really important things done. So when 8:30 hits and all of our agents start coming in, we're ready for script practice from 8:30 to 9. And then from 9 to 11, all of our agents and ISAs jump on the phone and we do outbound sales calls only. There's no negotiating contracts. There's no running around. It is literally for lead generation time. We protect it with our lives. And so we're making calls from 9 to 11 as an agent. So after that, the agents are allowed to use the rest of their afternoon for out showing properties, working with clients, doing buyer consultations, listing presentations, things like that. But we never do that stuff in the morning. That before basically noon, everybody's here at the office doing that. Our ISAs continue to call throughout the day. So that's kind of like what the basically from 4:30 to noon, it's the same every single day. That is the exact same
Consistent.
every single day. And I've lined up my most important things to my least important things as far as all my money and money making activities is done before noon. So I'm able to jump on there's a reason why I'm on the phone on a call with you at 3:30 and not 9:30 a.m.
Yeah,
I don't do these things at 9:30 a.m. ever. I have to protect that time. So it's lead generation has been something that saved my life in real estate. I started off with for sale by owners, expired listings, and that's where I was able to really drive my business. So I know the power of lead generation and what it means. And I've also been one of those agents that didn't lead gen consistently. And what happens is my income is inconsistent as well, and I'm not able to really build. What happens is I put a bunch of deals under contract, I service that business, and I don't keep my pipeline full. And you get on the real estate roller coaster where you're making money one month and then not the next month and the next month, the next. And so I, started looking at the best of the best in the industry, and everybody says you got to lead gen consistently every single day. And whenever you do that, you're going to get consistent results, and your skill set's going to compound. There's a great book called The Compound Effect that our whole team reads at least once a year. And it's really, really great book. And it's about making small, tiny improvements every single day that compound over time that actually changed your trajectory. So if you have a growth curve that your life is on, if you make little tiny incremental increments of improvement every day, it's actually going to change your trajectory. And over a long time, your final result will be massively different. It'll be so big by making little changes every single day, or not even making changes, just being consistent versus inconsistent. Your inconsistent trajectory is going to get you so far. Your consistent trajectory is going to have a higher peak at the end. So we really, really preach that. I mean, there's a couple of things that we do well, and that's one of those things is we're consistent with our schedule.
Yeah, I like that. And you mentioned something I think is really, really important, right? It's because sometimes people say, oh, I talk to a lot of new agents. I'm on the forums a lot, communicating with folks in real estate. A lot of the newer agents, they have time, right? So they're on there talking about this, talking about that. And they're always concerned, oh, am I going to close any deals? I haven't closed any deals. And I tell folks, the thing that's going to get you is not that you're going to close zero. It doesn't really happen. It's the inconsistency of the deals you're going to get. The inconsistency, that's what's going to get you, to drive you out of the business, right? And like you said, it happens, Brett. 2-3 deals in a month, and then you might go 2 months without any deals because your pipeline dried up and you didn't do anything to replenish it. So, Brett, question for you. How long did it take you to get that? Was it a, come to Jesus moment? Like, I got to surrender to the process, because you're defining a really well-designed process. I bet you didn't start there in 08, right? You didn't have that 4 a.m. to noon. That's a full day's work before noon, by the way, for most people, most agents, right?
Oh, that's why I feel good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, there's usually something that happened on the way, right? And it's not usually one thing, right? It's not one event, one book you read. It's not that. But tell us that path. Go a little bit deeper into that, because I want to drill more into that journey. But you went from kind of riding by the seat of your pants. You sound great. I know you're good on the phone. I can tell you're good on the phone, right? So you had the talent, you had the skill set. But where did the discipline come in? And what helped you drive that? Because I think that's the number one thing that holds people back. They've got the skill set. They've got the desire, maybe even, right? Maybe they have the why, but something's holding them back from doing those little things, those little incremental things every single day.
So it's to be able to give you the answer, you have to look a little bit back into my past, and this might actually hit home a little bit with some people that are listening, and it's one of the things that people don't like to talk about, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, which is addiction, drug and alcohol addiction. I was an addict by the time I was 14, 15 years old. I was chemically dependent upon alcohol. I drank every single day starting at 15. And I actually have a tracker. I have been to a point in my life where I was a drug addict for a very long time. And what it landed me was, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I have it says days sober.
Wow.
And it's got, I'm at
2,600. Did I see that right? 2,600.
Yeah, I've got this little thing that I use has an ad that pops up when I click on it, because I'm trying to get it. Yeah, here we go. Skip video, but it's a tracker. So where I'm trying to go with this is I ended up at a point in my life where I wasn't going anywhere. I ended up dropping out of high school whenever I was 17 years old. I never went to college. I was a dropout. I had no education. I mean, I was literally just like as low as you could get. And I didn't have any direction. And all my friends were going to high school and they were or going to college and they were getting jobs. And I ended up waiting tables at a sushi restaurant because I thought I could make some money when I'm like in my early 20s and I'm drinking a liter of vodka a day and like just blown. It was insane. And that's what I did. And that's the life that I had for a really long time. I almost did 5 years in prison and I was arrested more times than you can count and broken jaws and bones and you had to put me back together. I mean, that's a whole different story, but it led me to the place where I didn't have anywhere that I could go. So I was waiting tables. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life and I needed a way out. And so what I did was I was told my first year in real estate that I needed to save up enough money to have about 3 months worth of income saved up. And what I did was I didn't have that discipline. I was making $100, $200 a night waiting tables, and I spent every penny of it on drugs and alcohol and a little bit on rent. And I was literally living day to day. And so whenever I got into real estate, I had a very limited amount of time. So keep in mind, when you wake up and you wait tables at night, I'm waiting tables till midnight. And then I'm going to a bar until 2, then I go home and I'm not getting in bed till 4, and I'm waking up at 10 or 11 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I've got a very short window to do real estate. And then I've got to go wait tables again. And this was the cycle that I had. And imagine trying to make calls and get on the phone when you're hungover and you can't talk and you're just, it's horrible. So I know there's a lot of real estate agents that with the freedom that we have, there's a lot of people that are addicts to a certain extent or have developed habits that do not serve them. And actually, if you look closely, they actually harm you pretty bad. And so to answer your question, how did I get this discipline? Well, I didn't have a choice, because what happened was I put myself in a position where I was sick and tired of the lifestyle that I had. And I was sick and tired of where I knew that there was no path to take. This was my only way to get out of what I was going to do, because I couldn't get a job anywhere. I didn't have any skills, didn't have a college degree. I had nothing. And so I came to the conclusion, I got to sell something. So I was going to sell houses. I was going to sell boats, airplanes, pharmaceutical equipment, or
Gotcha. You had the gift of gab. You were good with people. You could identify that much. So you know what? I'm going to get into sales. I don't need to have a college degree. People will hire me on my ability, right? You kind of went that way.
Yeah. And so my first year of real estate, I was working night and I was doing this in the daytime. And I said, if I really want to get out of here, I need to get, at that time it was like $5,000-$6,000 saved up, which was, I'd never had more than a couple $100 in my pocket ever. Wow. And so I got up my first year, I closed like 12, 13 deals. I had enough, but I worked every day at night doing waiting tables and every day selling houses. And I did the best that I could. But I know that I needed to become consistent with my lead generation in order to get free of that other job. But then once I had just a little bit, the scariest thing still to this day that I ever did was leave the consistency of that you can rely. If I show up for work, I'm going to make $100 or more, and it'll get me through the next day, to I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm commission only. And that was terrifying. And it sounds so stupid, but like that's the way the brain works whenever you have this consistency, even though it's consistently low pay and like barely getting by, it's still consistency. So that's where I had to really dial it in. And I said, if I'm going to get out of this and I want to create this life, I must do it. And so I started reading and I started looking around at what other people that are successful in the industry doing. And I had no expectations getting into real estate. I had no idea what kind of income you could make. I didn't know people made $1 million or more, or 10 or $20 million in real estate. I just needed out of waiting tables and get a career. And I didn't care if I made $20,000 or $30,000, because that's what I was making waiting tables. I just needed a better life. I didn't want to work at night anymore. And so that's where that consistency came from, is that
and I love it. We're backed into a corner, like there was no way but up. And that was like, that was a very clear for you to how to get out of that, right?
I should have died many, many times during my life. And so, yeah, there was literally nowhere else to go.
And out of curiosity, did this all happen in the same town? And you grew up, you were a kid, and you're an adult, same city, same area, right? All in Oklahoma.
Yep. I'm from Edmond and I live in
So
Oklahoma
people
City.
have seen this kind of transformation over the last 10, 15 years. And they're like, people who probably were afraid of you growing up are like now your clients. I mean, did you ever get any comments like that?
Yeah. I'll never forget the time that it was about 10 years ago. And I was out at a restaurant and I had a friend that I hadn't seen since high school came around the corner and he literally straight faced was like, I swear to God, I thought you were dead. Like we thought you were dead. I thought you died in like an accident or something from like, oh, you OD'd or did something.
The way you were going.
Yeah, they were like, I literally thought you were dead. Yeah. Okay. Like, I don't blame you. Yeah, it's okay.
It's a logical thing to say.
Right. But that was absolutely.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey, very, very impressive, right? What you've been able to do, kind of pick yourself up from that situation, crawl yourself out of that and not just survive, right? You thrived in this space, the real estate space. And one of the things you incorporated into your business was this ISA model. So how did you learn about this, role on the team? Was it a book? Was it a coach? Was it an agent you followed? That's usually how it works out, right? You see someone doing it, you read about someone doing it, you go to a conference. For you, Brett, what was that? What was your introduction into the inside sales role, and how did you go and run with that?
It was all of the above. And so I was always doing everything. I was with Keller Williams for 13 years. I've just been independent for about a year now. And I would go to family reunion every single year. I would go like a religion. I would go to all the courses, the classes, and I was just a sponge soaking it up. So I had that, and they had, script classes and ISA classes and how to hire. And so like, I knew pretty much right out of the gate that this was something that was eventually going to be needed at some point in time if I needed to create some leverage for myself. On top of the books, I've always had a coach since I've had different coaches, but I've been in coaching for, I'd say 12 out of the 14 years. Like once I was about 2 years in, I committed to a coach, and I've had this coach that I've had now for about 4 years now that I've had the same coach. It was the longest I've had one coach before. So I'm getting it whispered in my ear by coaches. They're recommending books that I'm supposed to listen to that are, real estate related. So I'm getting the same message from many different angles. And so I'm like, okay, what's the consistent theme? And it wasn't just, lead genning early in the morning or doing it first thing. It was the ISAs. It was how to, create, when to hire an admin, when to hire a buyer's agent, when to hire an ISA. How many leads do you need? All these metrics and all these things that you just keep hearing the same thing, and everybody's got their own little spin on it, but it's the same information. It's the same thing happening over and over again.
I gotcha. And, like you said, there's always something, they're talking about, there's always something that they're telling you, Brett, this is the solution, but something convinced you to try it though. Was it a specific lead source that you wanted to get the most out of? Was it, what kind of got you to think, okay, now's the time to do this. Now's the time to try this with ISA. What was that?
So there was a couple things. One is we started to, when we added buyer's agents in, they were, one of the things that we wanted to be able to create was like a value proposition for like why someone should join their team, and to be able to like what services we can provide for them. And so it started with leads. It started with like, let's get some paid leads. And the problem that we were having with the paid leads is that with the way our model works is as an agent, they lead in the morning, but leads come in all day and all night. They don't stop when they come in. And so our speed to lead was really slow unless it was in the morning time during our lead gen. So we had this problem that every morning you wake up, you come to the office, I'm doing my 6:30, review of what's going on on our database. And there's been 38 leads that came in over the weekend that nobody's even called at all. Nothing. Untouched. And then we call them and they're under contract. We call them, they've already signed with another agent. We call them and too little, too short, too late. And so that was like the big eye opener, is that not only is this an opportunity for generating, like for closing more business, but we also had to look at the what do you call it? It's like called like the cost that we have of not being able. So there's not only an upside, there's also what is this costing us by not having the ability to
lost income. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. We got opportunity or loss of opportunity cost. And so when you look at both of them, you have one, your costs are pulling you down this way, and then your opportunities pulling you up this way. So we had a pretty big spread, and what we needed more coverage. We needed dedicated people who were able to get to these leads very quickly.
Not just 2 hours a day, but throughout the day.
Throughout the day, and preferably, nights into the evening a little bit, not too late, but, after normal 9 to 5 hours. And then also weekends too. We have a great success with calling on the weekends. So yeah, that's what really it needs to be, if nobody has an ISA, it needs to be a natural thing where if you're saying, I don't like to lead generate and I want to have an ISA on it, you could do that. It's, you're going to have it's going to be rough. I still lead generate every single day, and I do it 2, 3, 4 hours a day, every day. And I still have our ISAs do their thing. So for me, it's a leverage piece for our agents, and they love it because they get appointments set for them. They get, they're able to have that additional value that we bring to the table. And we get that night and weekend coverage that we normally wouldn't be able to get with, an agent who's working 9 to 5, where you can't have them work 10 hours, 20 hours, 15 hours a day, every day. That's what we need essentially to be able to have from sun up to sundown 7 days a week. And it just becomes very inefficient. You'll burn people out. They can't do it.
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. So you also mentioned something, Brett, which I thought was really interesting because as and for people that, if you haven't caught on yet, Brett is a client of ours. That's why I've been able to observe a lot of what he does. And I'm really impressed. One thing that even you discovered was very, very unique, not just in the industry, but among our clients, where you would ask and say, hey, do all the team owners kind of jump in and work with you guys this closely? And you were kind of shocked at the answer. And the answer is no, right? Not really. The guys that work with us mostly are the ISAs themselves, maybe the ISA manager or sales manager. And that's kind of it, right? But for the folks that aren't aware of this, Brett is very hands-on, right? And when he talks about training someone, it is not like telling what they should sound. It's literally picking up the phone and doing the job and kind of showing them what they should be doing, and not just doing it, but doing it at a really high level. So Brett, is that how everyone joins your team? Do they sit down with you and make those calls? What does that hiring onboarding process look like for you? Because you seem to be really into it, like really, really into it. And how did you arrive at that? How does that work for you? Are there any downsides to that? You're $100 million producer that gets on the phone every day, still makes it happen, gets 100 sites here. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So we have one of the things that was really important, especially if you're going to hire an ISA or any department, that I didn't realize the importance. So everything that I've learned the hard way. So I learned through extreme failure. But I call it failing forward. So if I'm going to fall and fail, I'm going to fall forward. And then when I get up, I'm a little bit closer. And I'm going to fall forward, I'm going to be a little bit closer. And I get a little bit further down the path. So that's how I learn. And I would start it off with hiring agents before I had ISAs. And I would hire agents and I wouldn't train them. And I'd say, here's your leads, give them a call. Here's a script book and go crazy with it. And obviously that doesn't work because they're not coached and trained. So they don't work. And so we started with, okay, now let's do a lot of hands-on stuff with when we hire someone new, let them shadow us, let them follow us. But there were still like some mechanical pieces, some systems and processes that were missing. So that's when we started coming up with manuals and books. And this is where most people stop. This is where agents, I don't know any other agent in Oklahoma that has training manuals for every single role that they have on their team. Why? Because it sucks making them. I hate slowing down and documenting stuff. I want to go fast, and I want to go fast often. And so that was the big thing. And so this spilled over into the ISA department, where if you hire an ISA and I was shocked that you got, some people that they're like, yeah, we'll take the ISA, and like the owner never talks to the ISA or like has any, input. I don't even know how that's survivable, and honestly, because I've done it that way, and it's not been survivable for me, because the level of expertise and the level of skill set and what I want them saying is an extension of my business and my company. And so I need them to say what I want them to say. It needs to be very clear about what our value proposition is, who we are, and they can have a better connection and relationship to the people. So what I had to end up doing to get this hands-on was, in my opinion, they have to watch you do it, then you watch them do it, and then they can do it on their own. And so
easily said, though. That's easy to say. Much more challenging to actually, do, implement. And at scale, if that makes sense. And doing that, one person maybe can pull it off, but to have a team like you've got, like the admin folks, the salespeople, the ISAs, and everything, that's really, really tough. What are the pitfalls, Brett? Because I think people are listening and saying, yeah, Brett, but people don't want to work, or yeah, but you can't, drive that hard. People are not going to respond to that. You got to take it easy on folks. Have you found that? Is that a real thing? How do you deal with that kind of a reaction?
So it's all about the setup, meaning if you're talking about like how people respond and how they react, whenever you sign up for a company like this, you need to have your scripting dialed in, like what you need to find out how you want your ISA department to look like before you start going into it. So if you go in like, I want an ISA, I'm going to hire one power ISA, get him on the phone. Dude's like got a great attitude. You like the way he's talking. You're like, dude, this feels good. Done. All right. When are you going to start? Monday. And then Monday hits and you're like, oh no, what do I do now? Yeah. And so that's what people get into. And so having your system set up where you can give them clear guidance, because if you don't, you're going to scare them off or run them off, or they're not getting trained properly. And that's as the owners of these businesses, we have to understand that we are normal people and we're not really good at training unless we become good at it. Like it's a muscle that you have to work out like any other thing. If you want to get good at it, you have to work it over and over and over again. And so if you're not willing to commit the time to train and coach these people and get them up to speed, it's going to be a big time suck. It's going to be frustrating, and it can be very discouraging for you to try again. And that's the one thing that I like about myself, is that I don't give up in anything. I'm stubborn to a fault sometimes. And so, but most people I've realized they're not like that. They'll try once, twice, 3, maybe 4 or 5 times. And then, but at a certain point they end up breaking. And it takes that certain personality that if you're going to fail and keep picking yourself up, find out what didn't work and then make it better. And as we're sitting here, one of the things that I started working on, this is our script that we use, and it's all nice and color coded, and it's numbered and has everything that we need. And it's got our clothes on the back, and it's so pretty. But I had to create this before our ISAs came in. I had to create our buyer voicemail scripts. Okay. I've got a whole bunch there. We've got our seller, voicemail script, and they change and they have value, and they're actually thought out, and they have value propositions built in to give them a reason to give you a call back. So, you've got to think these things out if you really want your ISA to have success, and they have to watch you run this system the way that you want it ran. Then you get to let them jump on and watch them. I always recommend is having some sort of voice recorder. We use Follow Up Boss, and it records all of our calls. If you're not having a way to record and listen to their calls, that is the single biggest and greatest coaching moment that you can have with someone. Because if they say, well, I said it the way that you told me to say it, listen to the call.
Exactly.
It was a good try, but it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. Your words matter. Mixing the words up a little bit here and there. And that's another thing with the script. Talk about inconsistency. If you're saying the same idea, you can say one sentence 10 times, 10 different ways with 10 different meanings, but the words don't change. That's what people don't get. So when you have the voice recording, I'm able to go in and be like, oh, you said the right thing, but you said it like a jerk. You said it. Could you not tell?
No conviction, right? No. And people, when you're on the phone, I think people can not realize that when you're on the phone, it's different than face to face. So all they're going off of is your tonality and your energy, right? That is Absolutely. It. That's the game, right? At that point.
Yeah. Or you talk with someone, hey, I said it the right way. And then you got an old lady on the phone who's talking 3 words per minute. And then your ISA is talking 1,000 words per minute. He's like, yeah, but I said it the right way. And he's like, dude, you got to slow it down, mirroring and matching. You got to be able to pick those things up. So you need to be able to be willing to dive deep, because you expect them to do it like you do it, but they have to watch you do it. And then you got to give that corrective behavior so you can really pinpoint what it is. And without having something to record and taking the time, you've got to take time. I mean, since the last ISA that we've hired, I spend 2 hours every morning with our coach and with our ISA every single morning, and we listen to calls. We go over scripts. Today, we didn't even go through the whole script. All we went through is finding motivation. It's the first 3 to 5 minutes of every call. And it's the unscripted part where you kind of got to flow with the conversation. And someone says, yeah, I'm just looking on our website. I'm not looking to buy. What do you say? Okay, thanks, bye. You got to know
great.
how do you continue that conversation? And so we always spend 3 to 5 minutes on the first beginning of the conversation. We call it going 3 layers deep on motivation. We find the 3 most important things. And for each thing, we go 3 layers deep. Why is that important to you? Tell me more about that. If we could make that happen, how would that help you? And we've got all of our little, our questions are right here that we can ask that show exactly how to keep that conversation going.
Yeah.
And so,
the easiest thing for them to do is hang up, right? So, I mean, if they're on the phone with you, move it to the next question. Keep whoever asks the questions controls the conversation, right? So I 100% believer in that. Another thing I want to say, just kind of validate what you're saying, Brett, is that reviewing the recording, that part of it, there's nothing that we found that gets someone to do what you need them to do faster than that. They're not just faster. It's as effective as that, right? Because it's one thing to say it, one thing to role play, one thing to read the script book, make the calls and then kind of have like a debrief afterwards. There's nothing like it. You kind of show them, hey, that thing you did, keep doing that. Or that thing you did, don't do that. Like, don't sound like that again. And by the way, we're gonna listen again tomorrow, right? So that accountability, I think is huge. It's not a coincidence for me to say, hey, if you've had success with this role and on your team, it's not a coincidence that it just kind of happened, right? So there's a lot of work that goes into it to kind of make sure that you have that bar and people are meeting it, right? So I love that aspect of it as well. Another part of it too, just that ability for them to say, hey, let me listen to Brett, or have you as a guide, as a leader, is also not a small piece of it either, right? Big chunk of all those things coming together to helping get people up to speed quickly. I love that a lot. But keep going. What is that? What? So they're doing that. We're role play with you. You're listening to those calls, and then you turn them loose on any specific lead source. What does that building block look like for folks?
So everybody's system and how they manage leads is a little bit different. We, in the past couple of years, have gone to like what we call a pond system. So we have a program where our leads come into our database and they stay as a new lead for 10 days. That first 10 days, they get 10 calls, 10 voicemails, 10 calls, voicemails, and texts for every day for the first 10 days. Try to get a hold of them. After that, they drop down to what we call a pond general. This is our next tier, and
uncontacted, basically uncontacted lead.
Yeah, they only move down if they've never spoken to them. If you speak to the person, then you recategorize them and you pull them out of the pond, and then you put it in your name, and then you create a follow up how you would like to follow up with them as the ISA or the agent. But if someone doesn't, they drop down to the pond system, to the pond general. They stay there for 90 days. And for there, that's where our ISAs and our newer agents can go through and comb through not the newest of the leads, but the leads that have been hit for 10 days, and they'll stay there for 90. So you can go in there and follow up, boss, and you can look at the last time they visit, the last time they called, and you can categorize them in order from most important to least important. Then after 90 days, they drop down to what we call the pond archive. And this is the final resting place where all of our leads are. Right now, we have 37,000 leads that are in our pond archive. These are leads that have been completely exhausted, and we have them on a long-term 5-year email and text drip campaign that will follow up with them for the next 5 years. And it sends a text message with a little GIF, kind of little, I think, GIF. What's it called?
GIF.
Yeah, little animation. Yeah, that goes with it, and it reaches out to them every 6 months, because we know everybody moves on the average every 5 to 7 years. So if we talk to someone now, they register on our website, they're not looking, we can put them on this long-term email and text drip campaign. Anytime they respond, we have it routed back to our Slack account. So we have a Slack account that has all of our lead sources. So you can see all of our little pond systems, and so these are the notifications in our ponds. So what happens is I can go to my pond bank right now, and these are leads that are 2-3 years old, but we do retargeting to them. So they go back to our website, they see our stuff on social media, they click it, it notifies our entire team. So what happens is even though these leads are old and they go down to the pond, is anytime they're active or they do something, we get alerted for a priority alert that we need to reach out to them based off their activity, because we remarketed to them. So you can make, as an ISA, we start you off with not the new leads, but we can get you start in the pond and start in our Slack account where any of those notifications, if they like a property, favorite a property, come back to the website, open an email. We do a home bot report that goes out to everybody every month. So if we have their address, it's giving them a report, and every time they open it, it notifies us. So we get you could just live off the pond alone of just the 37,000 people that just sit there and wait for them to do something, because a lot of times these people have been called a bunch. They've been seasoned. They're a couple years old. They never had any intention of buying whenever they originally listed, but we've been in communication with them. We've been contacting them. The moment that they do something, we reach out to them before anything happens. That's where there's a lot of opportunity, is in these old leads that have just been sitting there, but we have a system that allows us to respond. And that's what we have our ISAs jump on nights, weekends, and whenever they're making their normal calls, they keep an eye on their Slack account. Boom, that thing comes up. They're jumping on the phone. Hey, I just saw you like the property that or something, whatever it is. And they're able to jump into a script with them.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, and that's great because, a couple of things. They get practice, they do that, and it is not with the highest value lead you have, right? They're not, you're not giving them, like a huge amount of responsibility and a whole bunch of pressure. They get to actually use it, practice that script, and get something out of the pond, right? That's a great way to do it. I usually tell folks, start them off on your least valuable list, right? Which for you guys, well, maybe not least valuable, but the one that has the least time pressure, speed to lead, high conversion rate, the lowest conversion rate. Go to that and get them started there and build up to earn the right to get to that higher converting lead source.
Absolutely. And the easiest thing that most people actually end up doing is circle prospecting. If they have a dialer, that's your cheapest stuff right there as well. And we started to do a little bit of that, and it's good, but we were just not having as many people answer the phone as we needed to get a lot of repetitions in. Just because with the way that cell phones are and grabbing people's information, it's so spotty these days. It's just really, I'm having a hard time finding, and I'd be open to anybody who wants to comment, like great dialer they use. I've used Mojo for the past 12 years, and people swear by Vulcan or this or that or whatever it is. And I don't know the actual difference in data that they're able to get. So I'm all ears if there's a better dialer out there. But we start them off in the pond and work their way up. We have other higher sources, like we use Google LSA for the local service advisor. I mean, those are $70 leads that we pay for, and those are people who are direct contact. Those ones come directly to me. We have home like leads. We have our fast expert leads, all of our referrals. Our slam dunk, really high quality, high paid leads, or leads that we pay a referral fee on. Those, they don't get access to those until a much later date. That's the final tier that they can work their way up to. The
referral fee kind of commissions the kind of leads, right?
Yeah. Those are the final ones that they can work up to. But there are, they are working, and we're really good. You want to watch who they're calling, what they're calling. The other thing that a lot of people neglect that we've had really good success with is there's two types of agents when it comes to how they work their database: the ones that do and the ones that don't.
Yeah, 100%.
That's it. It's pretty much the ones that do and the ones that don't. If you are someone who does not call your database or has call reluctancy with your database, if you did one thing, hire one ISA to work your database. It's going to pay for itself 10 times over. Give them a script that makes it look like you're doing the work. Hey, Brett asked me to give you a call today. He was thinking of you and he wanted me to call you. He couldn't get to the call today. He was just curious. Who do and then you go and do whatever you want them to say. But you get them that script and you let them look at it, and it makes you look like a rock star. You just got a bunch of time back, and now you're getting referrals. Because if I have someone who's not calling their database on our team, I'll put an ISA on it. I'll squeeze your database
for you, right? I mean, you're
you're not going to do it.
Curious, Brett, how big is your database? Or no, a better question, because yours is going to be something different. But when someone joins your team, right, and you go, hey, great, one of your activities, I'm guessing at some point they have to sit down and make their database. What is there like a I did this when I was on my team. Is there like a minimum number of people they have to get in there? Is there like because they're always going to try to get, I really only know 50 people, Brett. Those are the people I really know. Like, hold on, is there anything like that, like a standard they need to meet with their database?
This is probably gonna make people lose their mind when they hear this. But not only is there a system around it, it starts in the interview process. So when we interview someone, they have to go through 7 different interviews before they get an offer letter from us. They get to meet with every single person on our team, every department, and sometimes we have a leadership group here as well on our team. So we have our top agents and our admin that are going to run certain divisions of my company. And they have a system where they get to either do a phone call. Well, and the amount of testing that we do, I mean, I just had a guy that we did. This is the amount of testing that we do on each person. So we do a cognitive aptitude test. We do this is a sales achievement predictor test. We use a company, Criteria Corp. We test everybody like you wouldn't believe before they even get to sit down with us, because we need to know that they have a natural ability to do the job. There's nothing worse than someone who says that they can do the job, but it's not in their normal basic behavioral profile. You have introverts, you have extroverts, you have analytical, you've got all these different types of personalities, and you want to fit them in a role that's going to best suit them, because as a very skilled person, I could be an admin. Like I could be an admin if you taught me how to do it. I'm not, I'm smart enough. I think I could figure it out, but you would be bending my natural personality, and that's not going to have any long lasting effects. So I try to find people who are a great match naturally, and then I can start with a really good base and work my way up from there. So that's the purpose of having all of those different interviews. Also, if someone's going to be serious about working here and they really want to work here, they're going to take the time. If you're looking to interview with us once and get hired on the spot, been there, done that, not happening. No. And so they got to get through that process before we even get them on. But if someone wants to join our team, every producing agent, and we're debating on what our admin want to do this or not, but there's a value to it. But if you're an agent or an ISA in our team, you're required to bring a minimum of 200 people in your database.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's the number. That's like, yeah, you bring 200 people. That's a good number. Wow. That's impressive.
It gets a lot worse. Okay.
Okay. Keep going.
That's just the number. That's the number.
Okay.
So in order for it to, so we have where we're going with this is if with the database that you bring, so on day one, on your start date, we send you an Excel spreadsheet after we hire you, after we give you the job offer. You got a couple weeks before we time it where the next training schedule comes. So sometimes we hire multiple agents at a time and do the double up on the training. So some people have to wait a couple weeks, or if they got to put time in for their work. But we want to give them time to get their database. Their database, we pay a 20% referral fee on top of our team split. So that's the value of bringing their database. So you bring a database in, you close it, but it has to be the database you bring in on day one. You cannot add to it at a later time. We made that mistake too. We learned when people would come in and they would just say, yeah, this is my database.
Everyone's in my database.
The other thing is you got to be clear on what your database is. You'll get people who have literally databases of people they've known their entire life, or they download their entire friends list off Facebook, or they have an old job where they have the entire roster and they bring over their old sorority. I had a girl come over and bring me 1,000 people that were in her sorority over the past 4 years as her database. And she wanted to get 20% on every single one of them. And I'm like, oh God, I opened up this can that I'm never going to be able to put the top back on. So not only 200 people, but it has to be able for it to count. You have to bring it on day one, and it's their full name, their home address,
there we go,
their email address, and their phone number. Okay. It must contain all of those, and there's a reason why. One, we're gonna mail directly to your clients every single month on your behalf, branded with your information. So that's why we need the home address. We also do a home bot marketing report that gets sent to them about their home value every single month that's branded with your information that goes back to them. The email, they're going to be on our email blast that goes out twice a month that they're going to get touched on, that's branded with your information. So that's why we need the email address. They also get put on retargeting through our back-end system. So the moment that they join, we put them on retargeting. All of our ads start popping up on their Facebook and when they're on all these other different websites, and they're like, why does this Brett guy keep coming up? And we have all of our videos that we make. Yes, nice. All of that stuff comes in. So that's why we ask for it. And it requires the candidate to put in a lot of work up front, because they don't have all that information. You have to call your entire database, and we give you a script. Hey, I'm about to get in real estate. I'm joining the Brett Boone real estate team, and I just want to make sure I have all of your information correct. Can I go through that real quick with you? By the way, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest? When I join the team, I'm going to be reaching back out again, but thank you for your time. Something along those lines. They gather that information. So they're having to do that work up front. Then on day one, they bring it, and day one, guess who they call? They're calling their database. Your database is the highest converting type of lead you possibly can. That you can get. And then we do almost a 40 something touches per year. So we didn't even call about the holiday texts that they get, the holiday cards that they get, the events that we provide. There's so many things that of value that we provide to your database for you. We just need you to put in a little bit of work to get their name, phone number, email address, and home address. And then I'm going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on your database for you so you can get the return that you should be getting. And all we ask that you do is you call them every quarter. Call them every quarter, and we'll handle the rest.
Yeah, that's a really awesome value proposition as a team. And I agree with you. That again, this coming from the ISA guy, right? The prospecting on leads, that's what we do. However, nothing for an individual agent, nothing's ever going to convert like a well-formed, well-prospected database is going to do. Like nothing, I have not found anything, especially when you're talking about day one activity. Like as a new person, new real estate agent, there's nothing you should do other than what you just described. Build your database, call your database, like right off the bat.
Yep. And the question that nobody's asked is why 200? Like why that number? Okay.
Yeah.
The reason why we have that number is that if your database is properly marketed to and you're using the right scripts, you can't just call them. You have to be saying the right things. You have to be working it and asking for business and really working it the right way. If you do that, you should be converting at about 10% is what a well-oiled database will convert at when you do have you have to have all of it. It's more than just the calls. The Keller Williams model was like a 36 touches per year, but email, text, blah, blah, blah. So at 10%, we can bring in brand new agents. And if they follow our instructions, they're going to be getting 20 closed transactions their first year in real estate based off 200 people that they have. That's the reason why, because this is their path to success. This is their base. This is the thing that is, this is the thing that, no matter what happens in the market, nothing is more important than your database. That is by far the most important prospect that you can call. And so we make you get that work done up front, but we really build that value with them during the interview process and explain to them why it is. This is the thing you can count on. This is the thing that's going to generate more money in less calls in the quickest amount of time. They're going to be your highest rate of return. They're going to be your easiest calls. These are the people who are going to refer you like crazy. And you just walk into the house and they just sign the paperwork and you walk out.
Another thing you said, right? It's not about getting 20 of those people to convert over the next year. It's who do those 20 people know? Referrals. That's it, right? Because people go, oh, Brad, 20 people are not going to buy a home. No. It's not the 20 people out of the 200. Yeah. They know someone that's going to buy or sell a home. Absolutely, they know it, right?
That's great clarity, because that is something I wasn't specific about. The goal is yes, out of the 10% conversion rate, it's not necessarily that those out of 200 people, 10 of them are going to move. It's out of the 200 people, 10 of them are either going to move or know someone is going to move. That's a great distinction that I didn't make, but you're right.
You get access to everybody, right? No, and I would get pushback on that. No, I can't get, they're not going to buy a home. It doesn't matter if they're not going to buy it. One, they might, number one. Number two, they know someone that's going to buy or sell a home. That's why you're going to tap into that whole network, not just a list of people, right?
Absolutely. And what you said, there's a lot of call reluctancy. And I tell people, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And so when your mind's stuck in this thing, have a different perspective, and the thing that you're looking at will show up differently. And I have agents and ISAs and our team members come up, man, I just can't get it. It's just, have somebody like, man, I think there's a perfect example. Someone was calling this lead and they were having reluctancy to follow up with this person because last time they called the notes, she just found out she had stage 4 cancer and she was basically on her way to die. She was in a really bad spot. She's a much older lady, but she was in good spirit. Okay. So she had a good attitude. It wasn't this big sob story. She was okay. And she had about 5 properties to sell before she needed to get.
Wow, I can see where there could be oh wait, no, I don't want to touch that. Like, holy cow. Right. But there's a massive amount of value you can add to that.
Well, it was perspective. My agent came in and he said, man, I don't want to be a vulture. I don't want to be this guy that's like preying on this old lady. And I was like, man, nobody wants a vulture. Like, I completely agree with you. Don't be a vulture. And I said, how I'm looking at it is this poor woman needs help. And you're not calling this woman who needs help. Guess who else isn't calling her? The rest of the world. Nobody's calling this woman and helping her. It's our responsibility to call her and help her and see how this freeing up these properties that are vacant, that are empty, that are doing nothing. How will this benefit you? Will this help pay for some cancer treatment? Will this help pay for a place for you to stay for your final resting days? What would this money do for you? How can I help you get across the line? And how can I help you do this? And so change the way you look at things, and things you look at change. And my agent was like, I never thought about it that way. Exactly. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's okay. But you went from vulture to like, I'm going to go save this woman's life, and I'm going to give her the best year of her. I'm going to go give her everything she can. We're going to free up some cash, and that's going to give her options. And we don't even know what she's going to do with the money. She wants to give it away to her grandchildren. Like, options open up whenever you come, but you got to be coming from a place of I want to help that person. And perspective is really, really important.
No, I love that point, Brett, because I have to say it a little bit of a different way. Same concept. What the call reluctance is telling me that there's an absence of value somewhere. You think you're bothering the person. You think you're taking advantage of them. That's a pretty extreme case. Same principle, though. You don't want to call because you don't want to bother them. You're going to be a nuisance to them. It's the absence of value. Okay, flip it on its head. How do I add value to these folks? Oh, okay. Well, then take that approach and use that, right? That is going to make the phone weigh not 10,000 pounds, going to make it a lot lighter, get it up to your ear and make the call, right? So I love that principle. I share it with you. So Brett, we're running out of time here, but I really love this chat. I love it that you're a practitioner, right? You're talking about just someone that's doing it, executing on this every single day. I love that. Last question. What's your favorite lead source? You've been doing this a long time. What if you could call that one list every single day? Is it database? Is it FISBOs from back? No, think about it. Expired from back in 2009, 2010. What has been your all-time favorite lead source you could call all day, every day if you could?
So I'll give you two answers. The true answer, if you want to be like, hey, Brett, if you were going to bank on Brett and how he wanted to pick one lead source to run the rest of his career, yeah. I would say database. Absolutely. Okay.
I got
you. If you said, what do I enjoy the most, that I get the most rush out of, that gives me that high? FISBOs. I want to put gloves on with FISBOs, man. I love FISBOs. Yeah. Because it's literally, it's a dance. It's a dance with language and a dance with words. And there's nothing more satisfying whenever you find out that you can use not just your value, and this is not like a manipulation thing, but there's value in being able to get someone on the phone who hates real estate agents, doesn't want to pay a commission, has had a horrible experience in the past, and they think your whole industry is just the shadiest thing in the world, that you don't work, you don't call people back. And I'm able to not only book an appointment with them, but most of the time you have to drop the price because they don't know how to price, and then give them a 6% commission and they want to pay 0. That is where it's if you can create value and you can get someone from going here all the way to here, it's not about the manipulation or trying to get them to do something they don't want to do. It's having a conversation with them and showing them a different side of real estate and ultimately putting more money in their pocket. Because there's not a shadow of a doubt. I know I can make you more money than you can putting a sign in your yard doing it by yourself, especially in this market. But they're going to have some experience. I mean, we have for sale by owners, and they say, yeah, I'm going to sell my home on my own because I'm going to get one offer. Okay. They have one person who's going to do it. Let me put your sign in the yard and do our marketing and advertising and do a double open house Saturday and Sunday. And I got 25, 30 offers coming in, going 20, 30, 40, $50,000 above list price. Now, do you have a concern about my 6% commission?
Yes, right?
And I'll do it in 3 days. And you don't have to do any of the work. They're like,
maybe. It's a good conversation. I'll get your foot in the door. For sure.
Throw an easy exit listing agreement. If you don't like my services at any point in time, you can fire me for free. It costs you nothing. I only get paid if I get the results. Sign.
Wait, maybe. No, I love that. That's a goal. It's a challenge of it. It's the hunting aspect of it, right? So love that. Thank you so much, Brett. What is the best way for folks who want to learn more about you, they want to follow you? Is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? What's the best way to follow you?
So I'll throw this out there, and I'm not big on social media, but you can just look me up on Facebook, Brett Boone, BrettBoone. I think on this, you'll probably have this up on your page, so it'll have a link to my information. My Instagram's the same. I'm never on there. My Facebook's the same. I'm never on there. But I would tell people, if for me, I want to do what I wish people did for me, and give them a direct way to reach out to me. So my cell phone is 405-818-0773. You're more than welcome to throw it in the chat or whatever, because I want to be able to talk with people one-on-one if they have questions, concerns, comments about this, about systems, about processes. One thing that people don't know or they don't realize is that the person who learns the most is the teacher. So I'm always giving teaching moments where I can give my advice or my information or answer questions, because if I'm teaching someone how to do something, I'm learning from their perspective, their angle, what they're doing, and it's a refresher for me. So I would encourage anybody to message me. If you call me and I don't answer, it's because I get 1,000 calls. Leave me a message and I will call you back, or shoot me a text. But if you call me and you don't leave a message, you're going to be thrown in the do not call back pile. So,
okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. Appreciate you, man.
Hey, you bet. Take care.